By the end of this lesson, you should be able to find the 3 measures of central tendency, and you should be able to pick which one summarizes a survey results best. So first I want to review with you guys mean, median, and mode. I'm sure you've talked about these before, but I want to make sure we can remember what they were. Remember, your mean is the sum of the data divided by the number of items in each data set. We call that the average. Okay, it's another word for average. Median is your middle number, so you have to write the numbers in order. It's your middle number or the mean of the 2 middle numbers. What they mean by that, if you have more than one median, you add them together and divide by 2. So if you have 2 numbers in the middle, you add them together, divide by 2. And then mode is the number or numbers that occur the most often. You could have more than one mode, or you could also have no mode at all. So let's review these by doing these 2 examples. So number 1 says Maria's test scores. So let's find the mean. So to find the mean, we're going to add 92 plus 86 plus 90 plus 74 plus 95 plus 100 plus 90 plus 50. And then we're going to divide by how many we have. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and I like to do this in 2 steps. So add those all up, and I got 677. Divide that by 8, and our average is 84. I'm going to round this decimal to 0.6. Okay, add them all up, divide by how many you have, and remember the other word for a mean is your average. For the median, we need to write our numbers in numeric order. So we want to find the middle number when the numbers are in numeric order. So you might want to put an average, put something here, put in numeric order. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see, our smallest one is 50. The next one up is 74. And then 86. And let's see, 90 and 90, that's twice. If it happens twice, you write it twice. Then we have 92, then 95, and then 100. 3, 4, 5. Okay, they were all there. So sometimes as I go to, I'll cross them off, like, oh, I used 50. Oh, I used 74. All right, so now we want to find what's in the middle. So let's see, we go this way. There's 8, so there's 2 in the middle. All right, sometimes there'll be just 1 in the middle, and then that's your solution. So since there's 2 of them, I'm going to add them together and divide by 2. 90 plus 90 is 180. Divide by 2 is 90, which makes sense because in between 90 and 90 is 90. Now we're going to find the mode. The mode is whatever number appears the most. So the only one that's repeated is 90. So the mode of this is 90. You can have more than one mode, or you could have no mode at all. So let's say 90 appeared just once, then there would be no mode. Or let's say 90 appeared 3 times and 92 appeared 3 times. Then both of those would be the mode. All right, so let's do that again for the next set of data, which is rainfall last week in inches. So we'll do the mean again. Again, for mean, you add them all up, and then you divide by how many you have. So let's add all these up. Plus 0, plus 0.5, plus 0.2. And then there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. All right, when I add all those up in the calculator, I get 1.1 divided by 7. And my average, I'm going to round that to 1.6. All right, so that's my average or my mean. Again, for median, we need to put the numbers in numeric order. So let's say I have 0, 0, 0, and then 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5. Yes. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5. So now if we look at what's in the middle, there's 3 on this side, 3 on that side. This guy's smack dab in the middle of this. So my median is 0.1. And then my mode, again, is whatever appears the most. In this case, the number 0 appears the most. Stop it, Phoenix. So my mode is 0 on that. Remember, having a mode of 0 is not the same as having no mode at all. When I have no mode, I'm just going to write no mode. If 0 is the number that appears the most, then I'm going to put 0 as my mode. So then we want to talk about when I'm looking at survey results or looking at a set of data, and I want to make sure I use the data, make sure that I use the best measure of central tendency for that to summarize my data. Then I go by these rules. The mean is best when there are no extreme values that are really greater than the rest of it. So for instance, if we were doing the average age of a person in the classroom, the teacher's age would be an outlier, okay, or an extreme value. So we call that extreme value. Sometimes you hear the word outlier for that. All right, so it has no extreme values. Okay, everything's pretty much in the same, around the same number. The median is good when you do have an outlier. Okay, so if I wanted to say what is the average age, or sorry, the central tendency of ages in a class, then the teacher is kind of left out, and we know, hey, most of these people's around student age. And there's no big gaps in the middle of the data. So for instance, in the middle of the data, the two numbers aren't like 9 and then 100. Okay, so there's not a big gap in between there. And then mode is what's best if you have a lot of repeated numbers. So if something's repeated a lot, then the mode is what's best. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to figure out which measure of central tendency best represents the data, justify our answers, and then find the measure. Okay, so if we look at number 1, a furniture manufacturer keeps records of how many units are defective each day. So there's a list, and it goes from 7 to 14. There really is no outlier in that. There isn't one set of data that is far away from the rest of everything. Everything's pretty close. There's not a lot of repeated numbers. So because of that, since there's no outliers and not a lot of repeated numbers, the best one is the mean. Okay, and we'll put underneath that no outliers and no repeated numbers. Okay, so that's our reason. Okay, so let's find the mean of this set of data. So to find the mean, we're going to add all these numbers up. Plus 12, plus 9, plus 8, plus 10, plus 14, plus 8, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so I get 68 over 7. I ran out of room. I wonder if I can move this guy. All right, equals 68 over 7. So the mean would be 9.7, which I think is a good representation of that data. If we want to know how many units are defective, it tends to hover around the number 9. Okay, make sure whatever answer you get kind of makes sense with your data. All right, the next one, science test. Mr. Wharton records his students' scores on his last test. 94, 88, 94, 80, 94, 84, 94, 88, 84, 94. There's a lot of repeated numbers. Okay, so it has many repeated numbers. Many repeated numbers. If you notice, a lot of test scores are repeated. So then it would be the mode that would be best to describe this data. So if we look, 88 appears 1, 2, 3 times, and 94 shows up 1, 2, 3 times. Oh, no, it doesn't. Shows up shows up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I wrote that wrong in my answer key. All right, so 84 appears twice. 88 appears 3 times. 94 appears 5 times. So the mode is 94. So we can say, hey, most of the kids on the got a 94 on the test. All right, so that's a good representation of that. Again, if you have a lot of repeated, then the mode is the best one to choose. Because someone say, hey, what did most of the kids get? Oh, most of them got a 94. So it kind of works that that's another good way of putting it. All right, a veterinarian keeps records of the weights of puppies in ounces. So we have 4.1, 3.8, 5.0, 4.6, 5.6, 4.7, then we have this big ones, 11.6. So we have no repeated numbers, but we have an outlier. Why did I write that in yellow? We have an outlier. All right, because we have an outlier and no repeated numbers, then the median is the best one to choose. Again, I'm just using that chart that's above these. You know, one is, you know, look at my data, and then because of that, however my data is, are there outliers? Are there not outliers? Is there a lot of numbers being repeated? All right, so my median, I need to put the numbers in order for that. So let's see, 3.8 is my smallest, then 4.1. I don't know if you guys can hear my neighbors. They're on a power wheel. I think she's stuck. All right, 5.0, 5.6, and 11.6, that outlier right there. All right, so what's in the middle? 4.7. All right, so the median of that is 4.7. All right, commuting. The local newspaper conducted a telephone survey of commuters to see how they get to work each day. The responses were, for the commuter trail, there were 22. For the buses, there were 17. For the subway, there was 18. For walking, there was 15. And for car, there was 224. So when we look at this set of data, we're not looking at the number 22, 17, 18, 15, and 24. So we're not finding an average. What this actually is commuter rail repeats 22 times, bus repeats 17 times, the subway repeats 18 times, walking 15 times, and the car 224 times. So what we're looking at is a bunch of repeating data. Because if we actually wrote this out, like if I had a sheet of paper, 22 times I would have written the word commuter rail. 15 times I would have written the word walking. So this has a bunch of modes, so many repeated. So we would use, okay, what does most people use? Most people commute by car. So measures of central tendency, your mean, median, mode. Mean is your average. You sum all the data, divide by the number of items in the data set. Median is the middle number. If there's 2, you add them together and divide by 2. Make sure you write your numbers in numeric order. Mode is the number or numbers that occur the most. If you want to know which one is the most useful for a set of data, if there's no outliers, no extreme values, we use the mean. If there is an extreme value, but everything's close to the middle, then we're going to use the median. If the data has a lot of repeated things, then we're going to use mode. So now what you're going to do is you're going to, on the next page, do 1 through 6. There's like a number 9, then there's 2 sets of 1 through 3s. All right, so you're going to do that work.